morning.
Good morning. How are you doing on this Wednesday?
I'm doing well. I'm not an early morning person, but here I am with you all. So thank you for
Uh,
having me.
it's our honor. So as an art director, I've always wondered, what exactly is your role? Like, what is the day-to-day like for you?
Well, it ranges. One day I could be giving a tour, another day I could be working on development fundraising materials or working with a curator, trying to decide which exhibitions will be coming up. I work very closely with students as well. We have about 20 students who work at the Siegel Gallery with us, and they are our educators. They work on our social media. So it's never a repeat of a day, it's always changing. And with every exhibition that we do, the content is changing as well. So you're sort of always learning about new and interesting topics.
Awesome. What are your criteria for determining if a piece of art is good and especially good enough to be featured at MSU galleries?
Ah, that's a tricky question. Who decides what art is good, right? For me, a lot of it has to do with doing studio visits and seeing the work in person, talking to the artist about their process, maybe the research or the information that they've infused into the work that might not be as apparent if you see the work as at a first glance. So I'm always kind of keeping an eye out for what's happening in the art world and seeing what's really relevant. I think especially as an academic, museum or gallery, the university galleries, we try to look at, what's the makeup of Montclair State? What's the makeup of the academics? What's the makeup of the student body? And really decide on artworks that are going to pull the community together and to really resonate with this moment. So I mostly am a contemporary art curator, and that's what I'm really looking for. So contemporary art meaning living artists. And so when I think about a work of art, there's not really one formula that tells me this is the right work. It's not just about the quality of the work and the caliber of the process, but it's also about, what does this work prompt more questions than it gives me answers. And so then I can facilitate and really think critically about the work in a more complex way.
Awesome. So, like most things, things evolve over time, whether it's through technology or even thought process. So I'm wondering, as an art expert, as yourself, how do you think art has really evolved over time?
Well, I would not consider myself an art expert, actually. I have a little bit of a precarious arrival at my role. I was actually an undergraduate English major, and then my master's is in museum studies. So I'm not an art historian. And I think that's really key when people come to a museum or come to a gallery and visit. You don't have to be an art expert. You can really come to it wherever you are, right? So whatever understanding, whether you're 5 years old, 50 years old, 90 years old, it doesn't really matter. So in terms of the evolution of art, if you're asking more about how we've transitioned to things like NFTs and digital art, I think that's really something we're still exploring. It's all new territory. I kind of look at it as almost like the founding of the internet. I don't know where NFTs are going to go. Maybe there'll be a bubble that bursts. I'm not really sure, but I think as the art has evolved in tandem with the exploration of humans in general. So as we continue to question how we can do things and how we can think about things, and ask ourselves what is art, I think the sky's the limit. I mean, now we're working in the metaverse, right, with the NFTs, and who knows? I think it's really unknown how it's going to change.
What are some of your favorite pieces of art?
For me, I guess one of my first loves was Kandinsky. So I went to the Guggenheim when I was fairly young, and there was something about those abstractions and the line and the form. My other passion is music. So when I see Kandinsky's work, I hear music. And I think anytime that you have artwork that also triggers other sensory experiences, whether that's, just an emotional moment, or maybe some people see an artwork and smell something. There are also artists that make work that has a scent, so I think when I first saw those works and I really heard something, I thought, oh wow, this is incredible.
Yeah. You know, interestingly is when you're going up, obviously you take art classes in, elementary school and middle school, and there's always like the iconic ones, like the Mona Lisa. You always see it and it's memorable even despite being made hundreds of years ago.
Mhm.
So why do you think certain art pieces are able to last so long?
I think it goes back to what I was saying about the way in which I distinguish whether an artwork is good. Do you look at it and you start asking questions, and does it kind of never stop, right? I mean, I think we're still talking about the Mona Lisa because people are still asking questions, is she smiling, is she not? And I think when you are looking at an artwork, that's a really layered experience, rather than me telling you this is exactly what it is and this is exactly what you need to think. So I think the long lasting works, it's just, again, just like music, you start to kind of hear different things that you never thought you would hear, or great literature, right? You can return to it again and again, and you might tease out a new idea or a new theme that you never saw before. And I think, as we go through our lives, there's different moments that make us look at the world or make us look at things differently, right? So the way you looked at something at 7 is not going to be the same way you look at it at 17. And so I think, those experiences make the art alive and makes it enduring. And so if you make something that prompts those interests for all ages, for all interests, for um, all backgrounds, and all skill sets, then that's what makes an artwork really last.
That's super cool. What are some modern artists, sorry, that we should know about?
Do you mean modern or contemporary artists? Do you mean living artists?
I'd say living, yeah, contemporary.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So there's some interesting artists out there like Jeffrey Gibson, who's an Indian American artist, and he's or Native American artist, and he's kind of mashing up his identity with his heritage and also his sexual orientation, and he's using traditional elements of weaving and beadwork, and then also incorporating things like pop music from 80s and 90s into lyrics and weaving. And I think his work is really phenomenal. He's also working in sculpture. The current exhibition that we have up at the Siegel Gallery is by Ajamu Kojo, and it's called Black Wall Street, A Case for Reparations. And his portraiture work is really phenomenal. The exhibition itself is about one particular project focusing on the Tulsa massacre and sort of reimagined history. But his work in general is just really high caliber, and he's really focused on Black excellence. I could go on and on and on, but those are just two of the artists that sort of on my radar.
Cool. So the Met actually just announced, I believe a couple days ago, that Frida Escovedo is going to be leading the design for the modern and contemporary wing, the new redesigned one. So I'm wondering, she's also a woman in art and is kind of paving the way for her and others. So have you ever thought about that from your perspective, that you might be inspiring students coming up of becoming an art director or working within the art world?
I think about that a lot. I think there's an aspect of my work that people don't know about, right? So you walk into a museum or a gallery and you see something hanging on the wall. And how does it get there? How did you hear about it? There's like I said before, nothing about this job gets boring because there's so many elements to it. And so I think sharing with students that there's opportunity regardless of what your academic background is to work in a museum is really important. Like I said, we have the 20 students who are working for us, and I've had hundreds of students work for me. In fact, this afternoon I will be getting lunch with a former student of mine who probably graduated in 2010 from Hamilton College, which is where I worked before. And now she's working at Wave Hill, which is a sculpture garden, and also there's galleries there as well. So I think it's about sort of getting an insider look, and I think that's really critical for my role, is to provide students with that opportunity to see inside and see behind the curtain of what it's like to work in a gallery or museum.
That is amazing. And we can't wait to see what the gallery has for the future. And we cannot thank you enough for coming on the show today. I know it was early, but
Oh, that's
you
okay.
killed it. You killed it. We learned so much today about arts. I want
Thank
to
you
go
for
see a
having
gallery
me.
right now.
Thank you.
So
Well, we have the exhibition Black Wall Street: A Case for Reparations up till April 23rd, and we're open Tuesdays through Saturdays, 11 to 5. So please come by and see us. It's an incredible exhibition, and we've been really getting a great response from the community. So I can't wait to see how the community responds in the future.
awesome. Guys, that has been the interview with Megan C. Austin, MSU's art director. And we're going to be taking a break. And we come back, we got some more stories. Lana's got some movies to talk about, I believe. And stay tuned on here on WMSC Upper Montclair.